And so, you know, I it felt like my world had turned into Brett's world, and it was also foreign to me. And at the same time, it was extremely um, mystifying and just disturbing, and um, but I was immersed in it with him, and like I said, we were Fox and Kid, and it just felt good. It just felt good to be there for somebody and hold that person up on a daily basis, emotionally, mentally, financially, and legally. I did all that, um, and it wasn't a burden. It absolutely was not even a burden. It felt light as a feather to me to help him, because when I saw the injustice, it didn't feel like work or anything like that. It just felt like a cloud, you know, um, that I was carrying, and it wasn't heavy, you know. It got heavy though. It got real heavy when we kept losing and losing and losing and losing. And, near the end, it felt like the world was on my back. And I couldn't even, I really literally could hardly stand up at the end when we were in the U.S. Supreme Court waiting on that decision. And just being so stressed out, it's beyond imagination how stressful that was. And then, Supreme Court justices dying and retiring, and, you could just see your case just slipping away right before your very eyes. And that's exactly what it did. But anyway, back to the beginning, we were very hopeful and energetic and happy. We were really happy. I was surprised what a happy person Brett was when I first talked to him. I was shocked that he was happy. I thought I would, the first time I talked to him on the phone, I was like, okay, what is this going to be like? Like, what is he going to say? Is this going to be depressing? I'm about to talk to a kid who's got life without parole, since he was 15 years old. And then when he came on the phone, it was like, oh my God, he's so happy and upbeat. And I thought, how can you be like that? I was so grateful because I didn't know how I would handle it if he was depressed and sad and all that. So, I was really surprised and happy and grateful. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. And he kept me going with his upbeat personality, and I guess I kept him going because I was optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I'm not Eeyore. I'm Pooh. There's always a pot of honey close by somewhere around the corner. And although I usually would get my head stuck in the pot, uh, it was an optimistic time because I'm an optimistic person. And, I think he really thrived on that. And we both did. We're both optimistic, but Brett is a different personality. Obviously, he's very demanding and domineering, and domineering and stubborn. And he had, I, but it was okay, because I kind of grew up like that. All the men in my world were that way anyway. So they were kind of bossing women around and, sit down, shut up. Not that he was like that, but that's just, it was a perfect match for us because I was quiet and kind of reserved, and he was like outgoing and dominant and, a leader type person in charge. Um, and very capable of coping with situations that are horrible, that would be horrible for anybody to face on a daily basis. Um, but his personality really got him through Walnut Grove. Everybody loved him there, and so he thrived. And I guess that's who we were, and it was happy. We were very happy. We were very happy. We were just happy people, and and I really spent most of my time on his case. I was doing research all the time and just doing research constantly, looking for things in his transcripts and, you know, obviously hiring Sylvia and obviously helping her. I did an investigation. I talked to Madge. I got her to do affidavits. That got his case reopened. And, all of my time was spent like that. I didn't know anything about it. I was a housewife, a mother. I was, doing laundry, cooking, and sweeping, you know. So I had to teach myself everything. And but I had this total inner push, this like inner like devotion to his case because it was so wrong, so obviously wrong, so obviously a bad trial, unfair trial. So obviously his witnesses, he didn't even have his witnesses, that could have corroborated his story, backed up his story. He didn't even have them. And when I found that out, it was just jaw dropping. So, like, I spent so much time, and it all just came. It was just this devotion that just pushed me every day, and it filled up my time. I used to have debilitating anxiety. Literally, I sometimes I couldn't get out of bed. Like I didn't even want to leave the house. It was so bad. It went away, completely went away. Never had it again. And it was to the point where it was so bad, I had to force myself to even leave the house sometimes. And it was just a terrible existence. Completely went away. And I even went down to Mississippi by myself. The logistics were a nightmare. Planes, trains, and automobiles, I did by myself, all by myself. In the old days, the thought of that would have been like, zero and none that I would ever have done anything like that because of my anxiety. And suddenly I could do everything. I could do everything. Like I felt like I'd gotten to Herculean, powers, just helping him. And it just was the best time of my life. It was the best time of my life. I felt love and, devotion and purpose and hope and, just strength. And it was so interesting to me to do the legal parts and learn all that, read court opinions and learn the law. It just filled up my whole life. I mean, I wasn't bored a day, a minute, never. Whenever I had time, I worked on his stuff. Of course, I had to take care of a house and children. Mike was never here because he was gone 15 hours a day. He worked downtown in Chicago. He commuted 4 hours a day. So like, I mean, I was here by myself basically all the time, and the kids. So I mean, I didn't really have much of a relationship because he wasn't here. He was off making money and working. And overtime. And how do you do overtime when you commute 4 hours a day? I mean, then you're adding another 2 hours. It, I was a commuter widow, you know. So like it worked out perfectly because I could really devote so much of my time to helping him. And so we went a long way. We went a long way with the case. But then we ran into Gardner, who he obstructed justice. He is a corrupt obstructionist judge, and we never got past him. To this day, we have never gotten past that guy. He denied Brett his witnesses. He denied him a new trial where his witnesses could be heard by a jury, and the Court of Appeals affirmed him because they protected him. And every court after that um, that we went to, we after 2012, we didn't. The conviction seemed to fall to the wayside because Miller came down, and so our lawyer concentrated on the Miller resentencing for juveniles instead of the conviction. And so we kind of, and then when it came back up again in federal court because of the Greenwood case, we lost that. We could fight the conviction again, but we lost it because federal court's a joke because of AEDPA, the Death Penalty Act. Brett didn't even have the death penalty, but it applied to him, and we couldn't get in the door. So that was not good. But we fought every fight, we fought every battle together, and I'm still here. I mean, we've been through fucking hell, even after 2014 when the cockroaches hit the road. I don't know what happened to her. We were still there for each other. Not, it wasn't all happy talk like Walnut Grove. It wasn't all happy stuff, but we had a more mature relationship and more adult relationship. But like I said, I don't know how much Brett's really gone past 15. I think he tried, but developmentally, I don't think he was honestly capable of being an adult. But it was okay. Like, we just worked it out. I guess we were Fox and Kid. That's what he always told me. It doesn't matter. We're Fox and Kid, so we'll be all right. We'll be okay. We're Fox and Kid, and that got us through everything. We were Fox and Kid. But really, that couldn't solve everything, that couldn't really fix a lot of things that we were Fox and Kid, It couldn't, what we're going to do now, I have no idea. I would still like to continue to work on getting him out. Pretty hopeless now. We had a few things. We had possibly the Supreme Court changing members, but Trump won the election, so that won't happen. And we were waiting on legislation in Mississippi that would give juveniles parole eligibility, but it wasn't retroactive, so it didn't include Brett. So he didn't get that benefit, although that's being litigated, and I don't have a lot of hope for it, though, on whether that's legal or not to, like, exclude 20 people, 20 juveniles because of the date of their crime. Like, it seems off. And also, the way the legislation is written, it's ambiguous, and it does seem to say that a judge can't give life without parole. So Brett's judge did give him that. So we'll see what they say about that. I don't have a lot of hope, as I say, but we'll see. And then I had talked to a couple of lawyers recently about um, doing another PCR because Kavanaugh basically left his sentence, what appears to be not final. Like he has options to go back to the Supreme Court of Mississippi. So they kind of left a roadmap, and these lawyers seem to think it could work. It could get him back in front of a judge, his circuit judge, who could resentence him. So I, you know, waiting on lawyers is like waiting for Godot, and I've been waiting 2 weeks now to hear back from this lawyer. And I'm starting to think he's not going to call me back, and he's not interested. But I don't know. I'm going to wait. It's the holiday. It's Thanksgiving weekend in week. So, I'm not going to make any judgments yet. But the other guy, the guy I started with, Mr. Rosenblatt, I'm going to go back to him, and because he referred me to this second guy who he thought might want to do the petition. But I'm going to talk to Rosenblatt again and see if he could recommend somebody else, or he could do it. He told me, and I really liked that guy a lot, Rosenblatt, but he told me he's a professor, and he's not supposed to be taking this kind of stuff on. And his boss already said no more of that. That's what he told me anyway. So we'll see. Sometimes if you ask twice, maybe he'd be like, well, okay, just this once, or something like that. I don't know. And so, it's something. It's something. It's hope, which is what you ride on with this sort of thing. Hope, even if it's just a glimmer, and you never know when, like we've had 18 years of loser, so you never know when your day is due, when your ship's coming in. So you just have to keep taking those shots, and hopefully, something materializes. But if you don't keep taking the shots, you aren't going to get anywhere. And this Christina cunt, she can't do anything for him. I think if she could have done something with Bristow, I think it would have happened by now. And it hasn't. And maybe she already played her cards. I don't know. I haven't heard a thing, and I think Jake would have said something to me if they would have had any success blackmailing Bristow or whatever it was they were going to do. And so I'm kind of hopeless about that. Hey, if it would have worked, great. I mean, that would have been great if she could have done that. But I don't think she can do it, and I think it would have been done already. Of course, I haven't. There's radio silence from both of them. So, and that's been since it's been a while. So, like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They wouldn't consult me or tell me about it. So I would just have to depend on Jake, I guess, to tell me. And he hasn't said anything, so we'll see.